should have been enough to fulfill you.
Nothing can fulfill me.
Sword Art Online is a total disaster from start to finish. The writing is all over the place. It feels like it was slapped together last minute by someone who just learned how stories work. The characters are so dull it's painful. They're either forgettable, boring, or just plain annoying. Sword Art Online is full of plot holes big enough to drive a truck through. Things happen for no reason. Rules get made up and broken constantly. It's like the show wants you to stop thinking so you won't notice how horrible it is. It's complete nonsense. What's worse is how seriously the show takes itself, as if it's this deep emotional tale, but it's not. It's hollow and overhyped. It tries to act smart, but it's not saying anything interesting. It's honestly baffling that this show has any fans at all. There are so many better anime movies and shows out there. Sword Art Online is just lazy trash, and people only like it because it was one of the first things they saw. If this is your favorite anime, then you seriously need to grow up and watch more stuff. Sword Art Online is so bad that Anubis himself would have judged it unworthy and tossed it straight into Amit's jaws without a second thought. It's like Ra took one look at the script of Sword Art Online, turned his solar bark around, and said, no thanks. Honestly, if Set saw Sword Art Online, he'd sue for copyright infringement because chaos shouldn't be this poorly written. Osiris would rise from the dead just to banish Sword Art Online to the Duat. Horus would gouge out his other eye to avoid watching another episode of Sword Art Online. There's literally nothing good about Sword Art Online. Facing Apophis would be more enjoyable. Crossing the desert on foot under the blazing sun, chased by scorpions sacred to Serket, sounds like a vacation compared to sitting through another episode of Sword Art Online. At least then you'd suffer, with purpose. Sword Art Online is the kind of garbage that would make even Bastet hiss in disgust and make Sobek dive back into the Nile to escape the secondhand embarrassment. Just skip Sword Art Online altogether. It's not worth praising, let alone worshipping like the gods of Egyptian mythology. Sword Art Online deserves the trash heap of forgotten curses.
You should watch Sword Art Online.
I won't make that mistake.
If you're looking for a fun action movie, then you have to watch Gods of Egypt. It's a wild ride from start to finish, packed with crazy visuals, epic battles, and a cool take on Egyptian mythology. Sure, critics trashed it, but honestly, they missed the point. This movie is here to entertain, and it does that really well. The action scenes are awesome, the world looks incredible, and the gods are larger than life in the best way. The cast brings a lot of energy, and the movie never drags. It moves quickly from one set piece to the next, keeping you hooked the whole time. Gods of Egypt is the kind of movie that knows exactly what it is and goes all in. Plus, it's refreshing to see a mythology-based movie that isn't just copying Greek or Norse stories for the 100th time. It's a blast, plain and simple. If you want something exciting and creative, Gods of Egypt is totally worth your time. Do yourself a favor, skip Sword Art Online and watch Gods of Egypt instead. Let's take a look at what makes the movie so great.
This is madness. Madness. This is Egypt.
Gods of Egypt received a lot of negative reviews when it was released, but there's more to this film than meets the eye. The action, visuals, and unique take on ancient mythology offer a fun experience that many overlooked. Despite the criticism, it's clear that the movie has qualities that make it stand out. It's time to take a fresh look and see why Gods of Egypt is far better than critics claim. For starters, there aren't many movies that truly dive into Egyptian mythology. Most films that feature elements of it only scratch the surface, using a few names or symbols without fully embracing the rich culture and lore. Take Stargate, for example. It's more of a sci-fi story with a very loose connection to ancient Egypt. In contrast, Gods of Egypt is deeply rooted in the mythology, bringing the gods, their powers, and the world they inhabit to life in a way few movies do. Every aspect of the story ties back to ancient Egyptian beliefs and legends. Sure, Gods of Egypt may not be entirely accurate to the original mythology. However, that's something common to every adaptation based on mythology. Whether it's a book, movie, or a TV show, these adaptations often take a lot of creative liberties. Take the Netflix show Blood of Zeus, for instance. It's highly inaccurate when it comes to Greek mythology, yet it still manages to be enjoyable and entertaining. The same applies to Gods of Egypt. While it doesn't follow the mythology to the letter, it captures the spirit and grandeur of the ancient legends. At the end of the day, the entertainment value and the creativity of the storytelling are what truly matter. The visual effects in Gods of Egypt are impressive, offering a stunning experience that brings the mythological elements to life in a way few films can match. From the grand, towering gods to the intricately designed creatures and magical landscapes, every scene is filled with vibrant, otherworldly visuals that make the ancient mythology feel tangible. It's fascinating to watch these elements come to life on screen. Gods with incredible powers, epic battles, and breathtaking architecture that transports viewers into a world straight out of Egyptian mythology. The CGI helps to elevate the film. Gods of Egypt has great world building. The combination of CGI and practical sets creates a seamless experience where the line between reality and fantasy is beautifully blurred. The world feels both ancient and timeless. The scale and depth of the world building make it not just a backdrop for the story, but an integral part of the film's allure, helping the audience feel transported into the mythical realm of the gods. The action and fight scenes in Gods of Egypt are a major highlight, delivering high-energy sequences that keep viewers on the edge of their seats. From the very beginning, the film introduces intense battles between gods, featuring epic fights, dramatic chases, and breathtaking feats of strength and power. The gods themselves engage in massive, larger-than-life combat, showcasing their incredible abilities. These battles are filled with a sense of grandeur, emphasizing the vast differences in power between mortals and gods. The choreography is fluid, dynamic, and fast-paced, often combining close-quarters combat with sweeping, action-packed moments that feel cinematic. The fight scenes aren't just about physicality. They're creatively staged, using CGI to bring to life the gods' otherworldly abilities. The gods shift between human and giant forms, wield magical weapons, and perform incredible feats that push the boundaries of what's possible. These imaginative moments keep the audience captivated, offering something fresh and exciting in every scene. Each battle is distinct, set against awe-inspiring backdrops. The environment itself plays a significant role in the action, with each setting adding to the tension and excitement. The emotional stakes give these battles even more weight, making the action feel meaningful and driving the narrative forward. The visual style of Gods of Egypt is one of the most striking aspects of the film. Alex Proyas, known for his work on the Crow and I robot, brings his signature style to the film. The use of vibrant colors, intricate textures, and sweeping landscapes transports viewers straight into the heart of ancient Egyptian mythology. Proyas cited Raiders of the Lost Ark, The Guns of Navarone, Lawrence of Arabia, The Man Who Would Be King, and the Western films of Sergio Leone as influences on Gods of Egypt. The use of CGI is bold, but carefully executed, blending seamlessly with the physical sets to create a fantastical world that never feels out of place. Gerard Butler's performance as Set is a standout in the movie. It's a big shift from his usual stoic hero roles. Butler delivers a menacing yet captivating portrayal that becomes one of the most engaging aspects of the film. Nikolaj Coster-Waldau shines as Horus, bringing intensity to the role. Known for Game of Thrones, he skillfully portrays Horus's inner conflict, balancing heroic strength with vulnerability. His performance adds humanity to the character, making Horus a complex, relatable figure and grounding the film with emotional stakes. Jeffrey Rush brings gravitas and wisdom to Ra, embodying the sun god's authority and immense power. With quiet strength and profound insight, Rush captures Ra as a guiding force for the gods, elevating the character beyond a typical godly archetype and adding complexity to the film. The original characters, Beck and Zaya, played by Brenton Thwaites and Courtney Eaton, bring a refreshing dynamic to the film. Beck, a charming and resourceful thief reminiscent of Aladdin, is driven by love and determination to save Zaya. Their relationship serves as one of the film's emotional cores, adding heart to the story. The costume design in Gods of Egypt is also exceptional, playing a crucial role in immersing viewers into the world of ancient Egypt. Every outfit is meticulously crafted, reflecting the grandeur and distinct personalities of the characters. The gods are adorned in elaborate, regal attire that highlights their divine status, while the mortal characters, like Beck, wear more practical garments that emphasize their resourcefulness and resilience. The attention to detail in the costumes, from intricate armor to ornate accessories, helps create a vivid, believable world that feels both fantastical and rooted in the mythology. Watching the process unfold adds a whole new level of appreciation for the costume designer. As you can see, Gods of Egypt is far better than most people give it credit for. But honestly, that's not unusual. Plenty of movies start off being disliked or misunderstood and later become fan favorites. Take Blade Runner, for example. It was seen as slow and confusing at first, but now it's a sci-fi classic. Sometimes it just takes people a little time to really understand a movie. Interestingly, the movie was originally intended to kick off a larger franchise, and it's a real shame that this plan never came to fruition. It would have been nice to see more of this world, with future films delving into different stories from Egyptian mythology, the rich and complex pantheon of gods, with their epic tales of power, betrayal, and transformation, provides endless material for more films. Gods of Egypt set the stage for a potential series that could have offered new interpretations and adaptations, bringing more of the ancient world to life in fresh and exciting ways. It's sad that the franchise ended so soon, as the potential for further exploration of this mythical universe was vast and intriguing. There are plenty of movies based on Greek and Norse mythology, but we really need more movies that explore Egyptian mythology. In August 2024, more than 8 years after its release, Deadline Hollywood reported that Gods of Egypt had finally broken even, thanks to its 5th and 6th home release windows. While this suggests there might still be a glimmer of hope for a continuation of the franchise, it unfortunately doesn't seem very likely. So, what's your opinion on Gods of Egypt? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more mythology content. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. Gods of Egypt is a visually stunning movie that brings ancient Egyptian mythology to life with amazing effects, epic battles, and exciting action. Lionsgate had high hopes for it, expecting to kick off a new franchise like The Hunger Games, but after a disappointing box office run, any plans for sequels were quickly dropped. It's unfortunate because Egyptian mythology is packed with incredible stories about gods and mythical creatures that would make for awesome movies. Even though a sequel never happened, there is so much potential for what could have come next. So let's dive into some ideas for where the story could have gone. At the end of Gods of Egypt, Horus goes to rescue Hathor from the underworld, creating the perfect setup for a sequel. The next movie could follow Horus as he ventures into the underworld, facing terrifying monsters, traps, and impossible challenges to find her. Along the way, he may need to outwit the gods of the underworld, form uneasy alliances, or make painful sacrifices to succeed. Of course, Anubis would have to return, since he's the god who guides souls through the underworld. Anubis would play a crucial role in Horus's journey and grant him passage into the underworld like he did for Beck. Anubis's presence would add an essential layer to the story. Once Horus finds Hathor, their escape would be just as dangerous, forcing them to fight their way back to the living world before they're trapped in the underworld forever. The plot could mirror the Greek myth of Orpheus and Eurydice, focusing on themes of love, fate, and defying the gods. However, Horus succeeds in bringing Hathor back to the land of the living. In the first movie, only a few scenes took place in the underworld, but a sequel like this would vastly expand and dive deeper into the darker, more mysterious aspects of Egyptian mythology. The gates of the underworld symbolize the trials and challenges souls had to overcome on their journey to the afterlife. The first movie showed that the land of the dead has 9 gates, so the sequel should stick to that idea for consistency. In Egyptian mythology, the underworld was said to have 12 gates, but that might feel like too many and become repetitive. Each gate could offer a different challenge, like deadly traps, fierce guardians, or tests of wit and strength, making Horus's journey even more thrilling and suspenseful. While it may not be entirely accurate to Egyptian mythology, the first film took several creative liberties, so a sequel could do the same. Mythology is full of different interpretations, and the first movie has already established its own unique take on the Egyptian gods. As long as the story stays true to the spirit of the mythology, while delivering an exciting adventure, a little creative freedom would only make the sequel more engaging. The sequel could also bring back Osiris, which would make perfect sense given his role in Egyptian mythology as the god and chief judge of the underworld. Since Horus is venturing into the realm of the dead, he might unexpectedly cross paths with his father. This could lead to an emotional reunion, but also a difficult choice. Does Osiris help Horus escape, Or does he have to uphold the laws of the underworld and prevent anyone from leaving? Osiris's return could force Horus to confront not just physical challenges, but also deep personal conflicts. As for other gods that could appear in the sequel, Sekhmet, the fierce lioness goddess of war, might serve as a guardian of one of the underworld gates, challenging Horus in a battle of strength. Sobek, the crocodile god, could lurk in the treacherous rivers of the underworld, acting as a formidable foe. Nephthys, the goddess of protection and mourning, might make a comeback and help Horus, given her connection to the dead. Mot, the goddess of truth, justice, and cosmic balance, would be a fascinating addition to a sequel. In Egyptian mythology, she plays a crucial role in the afterlife, overseeing the weighing of the heart ceremony. A deceased person's heart is weighed against her feather of truth to determine their fate. If the heart was lighter than the feather, the departed was deemed righteous, and Osiris permitted them to proceed on their path to immortality. However, if the heart outweighed the feather, the soul was found unworthy, and Ammit consumed it. Even Set, despite his defeat, could return in some form as a lingering threat or a vengeful spirit. Set might be cursed to remain in the underworld, where he seeks to corrupt and control it. However, as the story unfolds, there could be a twist. Horus and Hathor might have no choice but to work with Set to escape the underworld. Through unexpected circumstances, Set could begin to see the errors of his ways, realizing the damage his pride and chaos have caused. A reluctant alliance could form, with Set seeking redemption for his past actions. This arc could mirror a classic redemption story, where even the most vengeful beings can change. Alternatively, a greater threat could emerge, something even more formidable than Set's desire for power. Horus, Hathor, and Set could be forced into an uneasy alliance against a common enemy. This new foe, perhaps an ancient god or a supernatural force seeking to disrupt the balance of the entire cosmos, would challenge the very fabric of reality. This high-stakes alliance would allow the characters to delve into themes of unity, forgiveness, and the possibility that even the most divided forces can come together for a greater cause. Such a dynamic could not only heighten the drama and action, but also deepen the emotional resonance of the story as the gods confront their pasts, their flaws, and the complexities of divine power. Ra's appearance in the sequel would be vital, given his role in Egyptian mythology as the god of the sun who descends into the underworld each night, fighting off chaos and darkness before being reborn at dawn. His descent symbolizes the eternal struggle between light and darkness. In the sequel, Ra could be portrayed as a powerful force navigating the underworld, either aiding the protagonists or confronting malevolent entities. Bek and Zaya should also make a return, taking on significant roles in Horus's absence. Bek and Zaya must step up to maintain order and stability, facing new political struggles, potential uprisings, and external threats. Perhaps by this point, they're married and have children of their own, adding a personal dimension to their responsibilities as they try to protect both their family and Egypt from chaos. The movie shouldn't be limited to characters from mythology alone. Introducing other original characters could add fresh dynamics to the story. After escaping the underworld, Horus would emerge as a wiser, more compassionate king. The trials would teach him valuable lessons in leadership, sacrifice, and balance, deepening his empathy and understanding of power. He would lead with wisdom, humility, and a vision for peace. Those are just a few ideas for a Gods of Egypt sequel. What are some other interesting ideas you might have? It's disappointing that a sequel was never made. Because there were so many exciting ideas, the story had the potential to grow, introducing new characters and bringing even more thrilling adventures. This could have been an amazing cinematic universe centered on Egyptian mythology. Over time, it might have even branched out to other parts of the world, bringing in deities from other mythologies and creating an epic, interconnected universe of ancient gods and legends. In August 2024, Deadline Hollywood reported that after more than 8 years, the film had at last managed to break even thanks to its 5th and 6th home release windows. Maybe this could open the door for a Gods of Egypt sequel after all. One thing's for sure, we could definitely use more movies inspired by Egyptian mythology. While there are several movies and shows based on Greek and Norse mythology, Egyptian mythology remains largely untapped. It's time for Egyptian mythology to take its rightful place alongside Greek and Norse legends in modern cinema, delivering the kind of grand, mythological spectacle that audiences crave. Make sure to like and subscribe for more amazing mythology content.
Gods of Egypt Egypt is an action-packed film that brings ancient Egyptian mythology to life with stunning visuals, intense battles, and a captivating story. The movie immerses viewers in a magical, powerful world, offering something for fans of epic fights or visually striking films. Aside from all the cool visuals, the film is full of hidden details and Easter eggs pulled from real Egyptian mythology. In this video, we're going to break down these awesome references and uncover what they really mean. The Ankh is a key symbol in Egyptian mythology. It's shaped like a cross with a loop at the top. It represents life, immortality, and the power to give life. It was also used in funerary art and amulets for protection, blessings, and spiritual connection. The symbol can be seen in several scenes throughout the movie. Egyptian gods often had animal heads to represent specific qualities or powers associated with that animal. The animals symbolize characteristics like strength, wisdom, or protection, linking the gods to both the natural world and divine forces. For instance, Anubis with a jackal's head reflects his role as protector of the dead, while Bastet with a lioness or cat's head represents both fierce protection and nurturing aspects. This is Nut, the goddess of the sky, who is a key deity in mythology. She's depicted as a star-covered woman arched over the earth. She's the mother of Osiris, Isis, Set, Nephthys, and Horus, the elder. The flying scarab represents Khepri, the god of the morning sun, rebirth, and creation. Depicted as a man with a scarab beetle head or as a scarab itself, Khepri symbolizes pushing the sun across the sky, linked to renewal and the rising sun. The crocodile-headed god is Sobek, the deity of the Nile, water, fertility, and crocodiles, depicted as a man with a crocodile head, or as a full crocodile. Sobek symbolized the strength and danger of crocodiles and the life-giving power of the Nile. The drawing of a falcon-headed man is Horus. He's most commonly depicted as a man with the head of a falcon, which emphasizes his connection to the sky, as falcons are birds that soar high in the air. The bracelet of 42 stars isn't from mythology, but the number 42 does hold importance. The 42 negative confessions are declarations made by the deceased in mythology to prove their innocence of various sins before the god Osiris and 42 judges. In mythology, Ra is often shown with a sun disk resting on or behind his head, symbolizing his power. Set gives Horus a hunting horn, made from the skull of a ram. Rams are significant in mythology, most notably through their association with Amun, who's often depicted with the head of a ram, or with ram horns, symbolizing strength, fertility, and creation. Set wields a scepter. This is a significant symbol in mythology and religious practices, symbolizing power, dominion, and authority. Horus transforms into a gold falcon. Gold, in ancient Egyptian culture, was closely tied to the divine and the eternal. Set's animal form features a head that blends the characteristics of both a crocodile and an aardvark. In mythology, Set is depicted as a man with the head of a mysterious creature, but nobody knows what the exact animal is. In mythology, snakes held deep symbolic significance, often representing dual aspects of power and danger. A prominent example is Apophis, a massive serpent embodying darkness, disorder, and destruction. As Ra's eternal adversary, he sought to disrupt the sun god's nightly journey through the underworld, attempting to prevent Ra's rebirth at dawn. The struggle between Ra and Apophis symbolize the perpetual battle between order and chaos. Apophis appears in this movie, but as a giant cloud, not as a snake. Set is often associated with the color red, which symbolizes chaos, disorder, and violence. Obelisks were often linked to the worship of Ra in mythology. The pointed top represents a ray of sunlight, symbolizing the connection between the heavens and the earth. Scorpions held significant symbolism in mythology, primarily linked to the goddess Serket, who was a protector from venomous creatures, including scorpions. They were viewed both as symbols of danger and protection. The Eye of Horus is one of ancient Egypt's most powerful symbols, representing protection, healing, and restoration. The symbol embodies Horus's connection to divine vision and spiritual power. Urshu tells his guards to feed back to the jackals. In mythology, jackals were often associated with the god Anubis. Jackals were scavengers that roamed the desert, often near burial sites. Their association with Anubis linked them to death and the afterlife. According to mythology, the earth was often depicted as a flat landmass, with the sky above and the underworld below. As a goddess of protection and mourning, Nephthys is often depicted with wings in ancient Egyptian art and symbolism. In mythology, there are indeed several gates that the deceased must pass through in the underworld. world to reach the afterlife. These gates are part of the journey the soul must undertake. There are typically 12 gates instead of 9, like in the movie. Osiris had several temples dedicated to him. He was one of the most important gods associated with the afterlife, resurrection, and the cycle of life and death. As such, he was widely worshipped. Horus mentions that Osiris's body was split into 14 parts. In mythology, the number of parts varies. These parts were scattered across Egypt. Lettuce is a reference to how Horus defeated Set in the original myth. Set ate lettuce leaves that had Horus's fluid on them. Thoth thought that Bek was a stray baboon. In mythology, Thoth was depicted as a man with the head of either an ibis or a baboon, both of which were considered sacred animals to him. In the movie, characters have their riches weighed against a feather to decide if they can enter the afterlife. This is inspired by an ancient belief where, in mythology, the dead had their hearts weighed against the feather of Mot. In this tradition, when someone died, their heart was placed on one side of a scale, while a feather representing Mot, the goddess of truth and justice, was placed on the other side. The heart was thought to hold all the person's actions, thoughts, and feelings. If the heart was lighter than the feather, it meant they had lived a good and just life, allowing them to enter the afterlife. If the heart was heavier than the feather, it meant the person had lived a life full of wrongdoings. In this case, they would not be allowed to pass into the afterlife. Instead, their heart would be devoured by Ammit, a fearsome creature, and their soul would be lost forever. Set is unable to have children of his own. In Egyptian mythology, Set is sometimes considered infertile, especially in later myths where he's portrayed as an antagonist. One of the reasons for this belief is that Set is often associated with chaos, violence, and disruption, which contrasts with fertility and creation. Ra wants Set to take his place and fight Apophis every night. In mythology, Set rode with Ra on his boat, helping him fend off Apophis. The gods in the movie have gold blood, called ichor. Greek myths also describe ichor as the fluid in the veins of gods, showing their difference from mortals. And that's a wrap for this breakdown. While it's not a textbook retelling of mythology, you can absolutely see the passion and effort poured into it. The writers and production team clearly did their homework, weaving in legendary details while adding their own twists to keep the story fresh. From the jaw-dropping set designs to the little nods to ancient myths, it's obvious that they wanted to honor the source material while delivering an epic, visually stunning adventure. Even if it's not 100% accurate, it totally captures the magic and excitement of the legends. Were you able to spot any other interesting Egyptian mythology Easter eggs or hidden details? Share what you found in the comments. What did you think of Gods of Egypt? Share your thoughts. It's honestly far more enjoyable than it gets credit for. The visuals are stunning, and the action scenes are awesome. It's definitely an underrated gem that deserves more appreciation. It's too bad that we never got a sequel, because it would have been nice to see where the story would go next. What movie or show do you want to see analyzed next? Leave some suggestions. If you had fun watching, hit that like button and subscribe for more awesome mythology content. See you in the next one.
Gods of Egypt is an action-packed film filled with gods, magic, and epic battles. But how much of it actually reflects real Egyptian mythology? In this video, we'll take a look at how the movie compares to mythology, from how the gods are portrayed to the events that were changed. Let's dive in and see what's different. Bek and Zaya are original characters created for the film. They aren't part of Egyptian mythology. However, Bek was the name of a notable sculptor in ancient Egypt during the reign of Pharaoh Akhenaten. Horus is there, but in Egyptian mythology, things are different. Horus wasn't born until after Set killed Osiris. According to the myth, Isis, Osiris's wife, used magic to restore his body. This act of resurrection allowed her to conceive Horus, but it wasn't enough to keep Osiris alive. After being brought back for a short time, Osiris died again and became the ruler of the underworld. In Egyptian mythology, there's no explicit narrative that depicts Horus as a student of Thoth. Set mentions that Osiris ruled for 1,000 years of peace. In ancient Egyptian mythology, there isn't a specific time frame mentioned for Osiris's reign as ruler of Egypt. Osiris and Set are shown as the sons of Ra, but in Egyptian mythology, they're actually the sons of Geb, the earth god, and Nut, the sky goddess. Set kills Osiris by stabbing him in the stomach with a dagger. In mythology, however, Set's method is different. He tricks Osiris into lying down in a beautiful chest, claiming it as a gift. Once Osiris is inside, Set seals the chest shut and throws it into the Nile River. The gods have gold blood, but this concept actually comes from Greek mythology, not Egyptian mythology. In Greek myths, gods have a special substance called ichor that flows through their veins instead of regular blood. It's often described as golden or divine and represents their immortality. Set declares that people will have to buy their way into the afterlife with riches earned. In ancient Egyptian mythology, Set isn't isn't typically portrayed as having control over who enters the afterlife or the judgment of the deceased. Set and Horus appear human, but they can transform into beast-like forms. In mythology, however, they have animal heads. Horus has the head of a falcon, representing his connection to the sky and kingship. Set, on the other hand, has the head of an unidentifiable animal. Set takes out both of Horus's eyes. In mythology, Set only takes his left eye. A character transforms into a minotaur, but the minotaur is from Greek mythology, not Egyptian mythology, and it was an actual creature, not a human who turned into one. Set has an obelisk built for him, but in Egyptian mythology, there's no mention of Set ever having an obelisk constructed in his honor. Obelisks were typically associated with gods like Ra, symbolizing divine power and stability. Urshu isn't a character from Egyptian mythology. Bek and Zaya use a telescope. There were no telescopes in ancient Egyptian mythology. The telescope wasn't invented until much later in history. Set having a pyramid of sand and a fire pit as the source of his power isn't from Egyptian mythology. In mythology, Set's power comes from his role as the god of chaos and disorder, not from any specific structure or object like a fire pit. Bek giving Horus's eye back isn't from Egyptian mythology. In mythology, it was Thoth who restored Horus's left eye. The eye became a symbol of healing and protection, known as the Eye of Horus. Apophis is a giant space cloud, but in Egyptian mythology, he's usually depicted as a giant snake or serpent. He represents chaos and destruction, constantly trying to swallow the sun. Ra battles him every night in the underworld, not in the sky. Ra does this to ensure the sun would rise again. Horus fills his flask with divine water. In Egyptian mythology, the idea of Ra's boat carrying divine water isn't explicitly mentioned in the surviving mythological texts. Set killing Nephthys and taking her wings didn't happen in Egyptian mythology. Bek and Horus get attacked by several minotaurs. In mythology, there's only one. In the film, the underworld has 9 gates. In Egyptian mythology, however, it typically has 12 gates. These gates are part of the journey the soul must pass through to reach the afterlife. In the film, Horus mentions how Set cut Osiris's body into 14 pieces and that his heart was never found. In Egyptian mythology, however, it was his which was eaten by a fish. The snakes can breathe fire. In ancient Egyptian mythology, there are no specific myths or widespread depictions of fire-breathing snakes. In Egyptian mythology, Thoth isn't specifically described as being able to make copies of himself in a literal sense, like cloning or creating duplicates. He's known as the god of wisdom, writing, and knowledge, and he plays a key role in various myths, but the ability to create copies of himself isn't part of his traditional mythology. The characters solve a riddle from the Sphinx. In Egyptian mythology, however, Sphinxes don't typically ask riddles. The idea of sphinxes asking riddles comes from Greek mythology, especially in the story of the Theban Sphinx. In contrast, Egyptian sphinxes were guardians, often with the body of a lion and the head of a pharaoh or god. They symbolize strength and protection, like the famous Great Sphinx of Giza. Set killing Thoth by pulling out his brain didn't happen in Egyptian mythology. The characters in the underworld weigh their riches against a feather to determine their place in the afterlife. However, in Egyptian mythology, it wasn't their riches that were weighed, it was their heart. The heart was placed on a scale and weighed against the feather of Mot. This judgment took place in the Hall of Two Truths, where the god Anubis oversaw the process. If the heart was lighter than the feather, it meant the person had lived a life of virtue and truth, allowing them to pass into the afterlife. If the heart was heavier than the feather, it was devoured by Ammit, and the soul was doomed. Set absorbing body parts from other gods to gain their powers isn't a concept from Egyptian mythology. Set says that he wants immortality. In Egyptian mythology, there's no specific myth or widely known story that explicitly states that Set desired immortality in the same sense as humans might seek it. Set plans to destroy the afterlife itself so that he can be immortal. In Egyptian mythology, there's no explicit myth or widely known story that states Set desired to destroy it. Horus finally defeats Set, but in Egyptian mythology, their rivalry is more complex. Horus and Set engage in a series of challenges to determine who's the rightful ruler of Egypt. Set loses after eating lettuce that was tainted with Horus's fluid. Ra is able to bring several characters back to life at the request of Horus. However, in Egyptian mythology, Ra isn't specifically depicted as having the power to resurrect the dead. And that wraps up the comparison between gods of Egypt and real Egyptian mythology. It's pretty interesting to see how the movie takes creative liberties, changing some details while keeping a few mythological elements that we can still recognize. While the film brings the Egyptian gods and legends to life in a cool way, a lot of its depictions are pretty different from the original myths, but honestly, those differences aren't aren't a bad thing. Mythology itself has always had different versions. There were a bunch of different stories and versions of the same gods, depending on where you were or who was telling the story. So, when a movie like Gods of Egypt tweaks the story, it's not necessarily a mistake or something bad. It's just another way of telling the same old stories. Kind of like how myths have been told in different ways for centuries. What matters is how those changes fit into the movie and help tell the story. In the end, looking at these differences just reminds us how rich and complex mythology is and how it's always been about more than just the details. It's about the messages and lessons that stick around.
Here's how to beat Set in Gods of Egypt. The movie begins at a coronation. Osiris is going to make his son Horus king. Osiris' jealous brother Set shows up and challenges him to a fight. Osiris refuses to fight and Set kills him. We saw that Set was using a dagger. An effective way to defend against an attack like this is to grab the attacker's wrist. This simple yet crucial move puts you in control of the dagger's direction. And Osiris died way too easily. He was stabbed once in the stomach. People in real life have survived multiple stabbings. For example, a woman in Nashville survived 37 stab wounds and 4 gunshots. Additionally, a woman in Dallas survived 42 stab wounds. And considering Osiris is a god, the expectation was for him to endure more. The other characters needed to do a better job stopping the bleeding. Horus takes on Set in a fight. The other gods should help Horus defeat Set. Having Set as a ruler would be bad, so it's important for all the other gods to join forces and beat Set together. Set is severely outnumbered. All of the other gods are here at the coronation. They would easily overwhelm and overpower Set. Horus can fly and Set can't. Horus should position himself strategically in the air. This elevation provides a broader view and allows Horus to plan his attacks more effectively. Horus could also use dive attacks. Descending rapidly from the air, he could catch Set off guard and strike before Set has a chance to react. This could wear Set down over time. Set plays dirty and defeats Horus. This is why Horus needed assistance. The fight was never fair from the start, so it didn't make sense for Horus to face Set alone. Set takes Horus's eyes. What's more, it's puzzling why the other gods didn't step in and do anything. They could have pushed Set away, giving Horus a chance to recover and get his second wind. Beck talks to his lover Zaya. She tells him to sneak into Set's vault and steal Horus's eyes. Zaya gives Beck the scroll with the plans for the vault. Hathor has Set's dagger, but she doesn't kill Set for some reason. Set is defenseless right now, so Hathor should take that opportunity to kill him. It doesn't make sense why she's not doing anything. As we saw with Osiris, the gods can be killed pretty easily with a dagger, so it's not like Set is invincible or anything. If Hathor killed Set right now, a lot of trouble could have been avoided later on. We also see that the gods have to eat. Hathor could poison Set's food and kill him that way. Hathor had multiple opportunities to kill Set, and yet she doesn't do anything. Beck navigates through all the traps in the vault. However, only one of Horus's eyes is found. It makes sense that Beck was able to beat all the traps. Set never expected that a regular person would sneak into the vault, so the traps are meant for the other gods, who wouldn't be able to easily bypass the traps, since they're much bigger than normal people. Although any gods who could fly would be able to just fly above the traps, Urshu, Set's right-hand man, catches Zaya after discovering a blank scroll. It would have been better if Beck had just memorized the plans for the vault. That way Zaya wouldn't have been caught. Beck uses Horus's eye to distract Urshu and the others, which is a move he could have made earlier. Beck kisses Zaya. It doesn't feel like the ideal moment for a kiss. They should save this until after they safely get away. Zaya is killed by an arrow. Beck and Zaya should have taken another escape route, instead of being right out in the open where Urshu could see them. Beck talks to Horus and gives him his eye. Beck knows how to weaken Set, and he agrees to help Horus if he can bring Zaya back to life. Horus prays to his grandfather Ra and is granted wings to fly. He could have done this earlier and retrieved his eye from Set's vault himself. Horus can't see, but he could have relied on one of his followers for guidance. Horus collects some divine water to weaken Set. Ra won't help Horus anymore. He doesn't think that Horus will be a better ruler than Set. Horus needs to do some better convincing to win Ra's support. He can tell Ra what he'll do to become a better leader than Set. Set takes wings from his wife. She could have flown away before Set got near her. It doesn't make sense why she didn't do that. She could have also stolen Horus's eye from Set's vault. She can fly, so it would have been easy to bypass all the traps in the vault. Hathor takes off her bracelet and teleports away from Set. She should have done this sooner. She could have escaped from Set a long time ago. Horus and Beck are attacked by 2 goddesses, riding giant fire-breathing snakes. They need to focus on attacking the snake's weak spots, such as the head, eyes, mouth, and underbelly. One of the snakes falls off the edge of the cliff. Hathor comes. She makes the other snake burn itself. Hathor can command anyone to do her bidding, unless they're already in love with someone else. She should have used her power on Set. He doesn't love anyone, so Hathor would have been able to get Set to do what she wanted. It doesn't make sense why Hathor didn't take action. Set brutally killed his wife, so he obviously doesn't love her. Hathor also didn't need to make the snake burn itself. She could have ordered it to go and kill Set instead. The characters recruit Thoth, the god of knowledge and wisdom, to help them answer the Sphinx's riddle. This is unnecessary. Hathor can just command the Sphinx to let them pass. The Sphinx doesn't love anyone, so Hathor should be able to command it. It takes Thoth several attempts to get the correct answer to the riddle. This is taking too much time. It was a waste of time to recruit Thoth. Hathor should have just used her power to command the Sphinx. Horus and Hathor are trapped by Set. Set also takes Thoth's brain. Thoth can clone himself. He could have done some shadow clone jutsu moves, like in Naruto to distract Set. Furthermore, Hathor should command Set to let them go. As stated before, Set doesn't love anyone else, so Hathor should be able to control him. It doesn't make sense why she didn't do that. Beck is about to pour the divine water to weaken Set's power, but Set tells him that Horus is lying about being able to bring Zaya back to life. Even though that's true, Beck shouldn't listen to Set. Set overpowers Beck and pours the water on the ground. This is why Beck should have poured the water when he had the chance. It would have been smart if Horus had another flask filled with the divine water. That way they had a backup option if things went wrong. Horus breaks out of the trap and the characters run away. It begs the question, why didn't Horus do this earlier? If he had, he could have prevented Set from wasting the divine water. Hathor tries to command Horus, but it doesn't work. However, it should work because Horus is in love with Hathor. His heart doesn't belong to someone else, so Hathor should be able to command him. Hathor sacrifices herself and gives her bracelet to Beck, so Zaya has payment for safe passage to the afterlife. Set adds the body parts from the other gods to his armor. Ra wants Set to take his place, but Set would rather be immortal. Set overpowers Ra and takes his spear. Set also unleashes Apophis to destroy the world and the afterlife. How exactly will this make Set immortal? There's not gonna be a world to live in if Apophis destroys everything. Set desperately craves Ra's approval. If Ra were to give him the approval he wants, there's a chance that Set could change his ways. Horus and Beck take an elevator to the top of the obelisk. However, Horus jumps out and climbs the obelisk from the outside instead. The elevator would have been faster. Horus takes on Set atop the obelisk. Beck takes Horus's other eye from Set's armor. He throws it to Horus, but he's also in the process of falling off the obelisk. Horus has to choose to either save Beck or his other eye. Beck should have just held on to the eye. That way, Horus could save Beck and his other eye simultaneously. Horus could have also gotten his eye, regained his powers, and then saved Beck. There was enough time to do both. The obelisk is really tall, so it would take a long time for Beck to fall to his death. Horus ultimately chooses to save Beck instead of his other eye. If it was that easy to remove the eye from Set's armor, Horus could have done it himself. Horus should also take Ra's spear so Set can't use it anymore. It's right next to him, so it doesn't make sense why Horus doesn't grab it. Horus and Beck fall, but Horus regains the power to transform, and he rescues Beck. It turns out that Horus just needed to realize that his true destiny was protecting his people, so Horus could have done this all along. If he had recognized his purpose earlier, it would have saved him a lot of trouble. Horus fights Set. He tears off Set's wings, which is a smart choice. If Set can't fly, he'll be at a significant disadvantage. Horus beats Set and kills him. It was good that Horus actually killed Set. So many times in movies they never kill the bad guy, and it allows them to return in the future and cause more problems. Horus honestly got pretty lucky during the fight. He couldn't even beat Set at the beginning of the movie, and now Horus beats Set, who had body parts from the other gods, and Ra's spear. In actual mythology, Set was defeated by Horus in another way, which is a lot more disgusting. I'm glad the movie did something else. Horus returns the spear to Ra, and he repels Apophis. A kid finds Horus's other eye and gives it to him. Beck dies from his injuries. Ra owes Horus a debt. Horus wants to bring Beck and Zaya back to life, and Ra does it. The other gods are brought back to life as well. If Ra has the power to bring people back to life just like that, he could have used that ability to bring his son Osiris back from the dead. Unfortunately, that opportunity has passed because Osiris has already moved on to the afterlife. However, Ra could have taken action earlier and brought Osiris back to life. Before moving on to the afterlife, Horus becomes the king. He announces that the afterlife should be earned through good deeds and generosity. However, it's confusing since Horus is the king of Egypt, not ruler of the underworld. How will Horus enforce this rule? Horus sets off to rescue Hathor. Hathor could just order the people in the underworld to let her go. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.
With Horus going down to the underworld to get Hathor back, I mean, that's like prime sequel material right there.
It is. And I mean, even just thinking about it, it's giving me those kind of Orpheus and Eurydice vibes, you know.
Totally.
Lover going into the underworld to get back the person that they love.
Yeah. It's got those classic mythic themes, but like with an Egyptian twist, you know.
Yes, but you've got that kind of underlying resonance going on.
What's really interesting too is the underworld itself. You know, when you think about it, it's not just some empty void. These 9 gates.
Oh yeah, the 9 gates. Each one of those is like its own challenge, right?
Exactly. So it's not just a straight shot out. It's like this whole gauntlet that Horus has got to go through.
So we're talking like way more than just monsters and traps, right? Like actual dilemmas and choices he has to make.
Oh yeah, this is where the character development comes in, you know. Each gate can be like a test of his character. Imagine like one gate is guarded by Sekhmet, you know, the lioness goddess.
She's intense.
Right. So maybe instead of just like fighting her, he's got to demonstrate he understands her nature.
So it's more about proving he's worthy in a different way, not just strength.
Exactly. Or maybe there's a gate with Thoth, the god of wisdom.
Oh, riddles.
But it's not just about knowing the answer. It's about making the wisest choice, you know? Like what's the right course of action, not just the cleverest one.
I'm already hooked. Okay, but this is the underworld we're talking about, right? Ruled by some pretty major players. Anubis has got to factor in here, right?
Yeah.
Lord of the Dead and all that.
Anubis is, he's key to all of this.
So that mean he's going to be like trying to stop Horus from escaping?
That's the question. Is he bound by duty? Or does he see Horus's love for Hathor as something that transcends the rules? You know, like maybe true love is powerful enough to tip the scales a little bit?
That's really good. But speaking of tipping the scales, we've also got Osiris to think about, right? I mean, Horus's dad is literally the ruler of the underworld.
And that's where things get really, really interesting. It's not just about escaping anymore. It's about a father-son reunion, but in the underworld.
Okay, now that is intense. What would that even be like?
Has the underworld changed him?
Oh man, that's got family drama written all over it. Like, what if Osiris sees Horus trying to save Hathor as like this threat to the whole balance of things? Like, death has to happen. You can't just cheat it, you know?
You're hitting on something really important there.
And on top of that, the emotional side of it, you know, seeing your dad, but he's in the realm of the dead and he might be totally different now.
And, you know, we can't forget about Set, right?
Right. He might be defeated, but there's no way he's completely out of the picture.
Exactly. He cast a long shadow. Maybe there's some lingering influence down there, some vengeful spirit, something that makes escaping even harder.
Man, so we've got Anubis, Osiris, maybe even Set. Is there anyone else we need to be thinking about?
Nephthys, you know, the goddess of protection.
Oh yeah, Isis' sister.
Right, so maybe she's got Horus's back because of that.
So many possibilities.
The heart being weighed against the feather of Mahat, the goddess of truth. It's like the ultimate judgment.
It's one of the most iconic parts of Egyptian mythology. So you're saying Horus and Hathor would have to go through that?
It's a pivotal moment, full of potential. Think about it. Horus is desperate to save Hathor, right? But now he's got to face judgment too. All his actions weighed on those scales.
Man, that is heavy. And what about Hathor? Like, what if her heart is weighed too? What secrets might she be hiding?
It's not just about being worthy of the afterlife. It's about their very characters being laid bare. And what if passing that judgment grants them something they need to escape?
Like some kind of weapon, or maybe a powerful ally?
Maybe. Or maybe it reveals something about Hathor that changes everything.
Okay, so we've gone from a daring escape to like a deep philosophical exploration of truth and judgment, even for the gods.
And that ties into what we were saying before about creative liberty. You know, the first film wasn't 100% accurate, but it got the spirit of the myth right.
So a sequel could do the same. It could draw inspiration from these beliefs, but still tell its own unique story.
Exactly. It's about honoring the source material, but not being afraid to explore, to push the boundaries a little bit.
So we've been talking about all these challenges, these gods, this whole judgment thing, waiting for them in the underworld. It's pretty intense.
It is, but remember we were talking about Orpheus and Eurydice?
Oh yeah, going into the underworld for love.
Right. And that myth isn't just about the obstacles. It's about, you know, how powerful love can be, even in the face of death.
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean. So while Horus is fighting his way through these gates, he's also got this like driving force pushing him forward.
Exactly. His love for Hathor, that's got to be at the heart of this story.
But thinking about it, like, the underworld's not exactly a romantic getaway, right?
No, not really. It's a place of isolation, fear. There might even be like temptations down there, specifically designed to break them apart.
Ooh, okay, I like that. Like some kind of underworld siren promising Horus power, or an easier escape if he just leaves Hathor behind.
Something like that, yeah. It would definitely raise the stakes.
For sure. And you know what? It makes me think, like, what's Hathor doing this whole time? Is she just waiting around to be rescued?
That's a good question. I mean, she's a goddess in her own right. She might be actively trying to escape, facing her own challenges. Maybe she even knows some things about the underworld that could help Horus.
Okay, so she's not just a damsel in distress. She's like resourceful, using her wits and knowledge of her own domain to survive. I like that a lot better.
It makes her a more active character, gives her agency, and, you know, it could really create some interesting dynamics between her and Horus.
Yeah, like, how do they work together under pressure? Do they start to doubt each other, or do they come out stronger? You know, like their love is even stronger after going through all that.
Exactly. It's a chance to really explore their relationship, give it some depth.
And it's not just about the gods, right? I mean, this is a world where gods and mortals interact.
Right. Imagine Horus encountering like trapped souls down there, mortals who need his help.
Oh, that's good. So does he just focus on rescuing Hathor, or does he try to help everyone?
It's a classic dilemma. Does he prioritize his love or his duty to others?
And it shows us a different side of him, you know?
Absolutely. Those human interactions could really ground the story too, remind us of the stakes for everyone involved.
Okay, so we've talked about the challenges, the emotional stuff, but what about the rewards? Like, what does Horus actually get out of all this?
It can't just be escaping, right?
Maybe he learned something about death itself, like it's not just an ending, but part of a cycle. Or maybe he learned something about Osiris.
Those are great ideas. Or maybe it's more tangible, like some kind of powerful artifact hidden in the underworld, but he has to pass the weighing of the heart to even access it.
So it's not just about brute force, it's about proving you're worthy. I like that a lot. But it has to be something that changes him, makes him more than just the god of the sky.
Right. It's about him literally going down into darkness and coming back changed.
Man, that's a powerful image. What happens after they escape? Like, what are the lasting consequences of all this?
Yeah, good point. I mean, even if they make it back, they've been through the ringer.
Right. They're not the same gods anymore. Like, they've seen the underworld, faced death. What if they learn things down there?
Secrets of the underworld, hidden knowledge, could affect everyone.
Like a prophecy. Something even worse than Set is coming.
Maybe. Or some truth about the gods themselves shakes their whole power structure.
Dude, we're not just talking about a sequel anymore. This changes everything.
It becomes a whole new chapter.
From sequel ideas to, like, a whole new era for gods of Egypt.
That's storytelling for you. It takes you places you never expected. Picture Horus and Hathor. They're back, but different. Their love is tested. They have this heavy knowledge.
Yeah, and they have to decide what to do with it. Do they try to save the world?
Or do their choices end up tearing it apart? What happens to Egypt because of what they learned in the underworld?
That's a great way to end it. Makes you want to know more.
That's the goal, right? Leave them curious.
Exactly.
Listen up, folks, because I'm about to spill the tea on why Gods of Egypt is the ultimate guilty pleasure movie. First of all, let's get one thing straight. This movie is a hot mess. The acting is as stiff as a mummy. The special effects look like they were done on a TI-83 calculator. And the storyline is as predictable as the sunrise over the Nile. But you know what? Sometimes you just want to watch a movie where you don't have to think too hard. And that's exactly what this is. The plot, for those who care, is a pretty basic revenge tale. It's about as formulaic as they come, but it works because it's unapologetically silly. What Gods of Egypt lacks in quality, it makes up for in sheer ridiculousness. I mean, the gods are all super tall and have magical powers, and there are giant monsters and flying chariots and explosions galore. It's like someone took all the leftover CGI from every other movie and threw it into this one. The special effects look like they were done by a group of college students who just discovered After Effects. But there's something endearing about the ambition on display here. The world building is impressive, and the CGI monsters are so absurd that they're almost charming. It's like the filmmakers knew they didn't have the budget to make anything look truly realistic, so they decided to lean into the campiness. The actors all seem to be having a blast chewing up the scenery. It's all part of the appeal. Gods of Egypt is the kind of movie that you watch with a bowl of popcorn and your brain turned off. It's the cinematic equivalent of a Big Mac. You know it's not healthy for you, but it still tastes very good. When it comes to action scenes, Gods of Egypt certainly doesn't disappoint. The movie is filled with epic battles and heart-pumping fight sequences that will leave you on the edge of your seat. The visuals are stunning, with vibrant colors that make you feel like you're right in the middle of the action. From giant snakes to monstrous scorpions, the creatures in this movie are both terrifying and awe-inspiring. Even the smaller fights are exciting to watch. Each action scene is expertly crafted and a joy to behold. The gods and mortals in this movie are larger than life, with personalities and quirks that make them relatable. Watching these characters fight and interact with one another is just as entertaining as watching them battle the forces of evil. Gods of Egypt certainly delivers when it comes to action scenes. From start to finish, the movie is a thrilling ride that will leave you wanting more. If you're in the mood for some high-octane action, then Gods of Egypt is definitely worth checking out. Look, I'm not going to pretend that the action in this movie is realistic. It's not. The physics are wonky, the camera work is dizzying, and the CGI is so obvious that it's almost distracting. But it's also incredibly entertaining. There's something about the absurdity of it all that makes the action scenes a joy to watch. Let's start with the fight choreography. Is it good? No, not really. But it's so over the top that it's hard not to enjoy it. The gods in this movie are larger-than-life figures who can transform into animals, shoot lightning bolts, and summon massive weapons out of thin air. It's like watching a video game come to life, and it's just as satisfying as it sounds. And then there's the camera work. I'm not going to pretend that the shaky cam in this movie is good. It's not. It's actually kind of nauseating, but it also adds to the chaotic, frenzied energy of the action scenes. It's like the director knew the fight choreography wasn't that great, so he decided to just shake the camera around a bunch to distract us from it. It honestly kind of works. But what makes the action scenes in Gods of Egypt so great is the sheer scale of it all. This is a movie that doesn't know the meaning of the word restraint. The gods are battling on giant, floating platforms in the sky, swinging swords that are the size of cars, and shooting fireballs that could level a city. It's like the filmmakers were trying to cram as much spectacle spectacle as possible into every frame, and it's impossible not to be swept up in it all. There are giant snakes, and a giant, looming apocalypse threatening to destroy everything. It's like the writers took every fantasy trope they could think of and threw it into a blender. Every god seems to have their own unique weapon, and they're all completely ridiculous. It's like the prop department just raided a medieval-themed Halloween store and said, this'll do. The gods have powers that range from shooting fireballs to turning into giant beasts, and the movie isn't shy about showing them off. It's like watching a group of toddlers playing pretend, but with a budget of $140 million. And let's not forget about the sound effects. Every punch, kick, and swing of a weapon is accompanied by a sound effect that's so cartoonish it's impossible not to laugh. It's like the sound designer was just having a blast with a bunch of stock sound effects and a soundboard. The choreography is so over the top that it's hard not to get caught up in the spectacle of it all. The gods are jumping and flipping around like they're in a circus, but it's also kind of awesome. And let's not forget about the stakes. The fight scenes in Gods of Egypt are all about saving the world from destruction, but it's hard to take that seriously when the movie is bonkers. It's like watching a Saturday morning cartoon. One of the things that makes Gods of Egypt entertaining is the visual spectacle. The movie transports you to a world of mythical creatures, epic battles, and larger-than-life gods. You can't help but laugh at some of the absurdity on screen, like the gods who are taller than people or the creatures that look like they were created in a video game. If you're in the mood for a fun, mindless adventure movie, Gods of Egypt is definitely worth a watch. It's not going to win any awards, but it's a guilty pleasure movie that you can enjoy without worrying about whether it's high art or not. So grab some popcorn, sit back, and bask in the visual spectacle and silly performances. It's a movie that's sure to put a smile on your face. We all know that Gods of Egypt isn't exactly a cinematic masterpiece, but let's be real, who needs artistic merit when you've got giant, transforming gods duking it out for control of the universe? That's right, this movie has some of the most farcical stakes you'll ever see, and it's all the better for it. I mean, who cares about boring old human problems like love, family, or financial stability? When you've got gods fighting over the fate of the entire world, those petty concerns just fade away. And the best part? The movie doesn't even take itself seriously. It's like the director said, screw it, let's just throw everything we got at the screen and see what sticks. But it works, because sometimes you don't want a movie that's gonna make you think or feel. Sometimes you just want to watch a bunch of CGI creatures punch each other while cheesy music blares in the background. And that's exactly what Gods of Egypt delivers. Forget about realistic stakes and believable characters. Embrace the absurdity, my friends. It's a wild ride, and you won't regret it. This movie is so absurd that it's almost impressive. It's like the filmmakers just threw a bunch of random ideas into a hat and said, yeah, that'll do. Despite all the preposterousness, Gods of Egypt is still a good time. There's something enjoyable about watching these characters spout dialogue and fight each other with giant weapons. Gods of Egypt is the kind of movie that makes you feel like you've just been on a wild ride with a group of deities who may or may not have been hitting the ambrosia a little too hard. It's almost impossible not to be entertained. So if you're looking for a movie that's gonna make you think or challenge your worldview or whatever, then go watch something else. But if you want to sit back, turn off your brain, and watch some absurd CGI spectacle, then Gods of Egypt is the movie for you. If you're in the mood for a big, dumb, over-the-top fantasy movie with fight scenes that are so ridiculous they're hilarious, then Gods of Egypt is the right choice. Gods of Egypt is a bad movie, but it's also a lot of fun. Gods of Egypt is like watching a live action anime. The exaggerated movements, the overblown special effects, and the characters with inexplicably perfect hair. It's all there. And like a good anime, the plot is both extravagant and engaging. The gods themselves are like anime characters brought to life. They're larger than life, with flashy powers and even flashier outfits. The fight scenes in Gods of Egypt are reminiscent of anime battles. It's all about big, flashy moves and lots of yelling. You'll find yourself cheering for your favorite god like you would for your favorite anime character. I'm just gonna say it. I need more Gods of Egypt in my life. I know it wasn't everyone's cup of tea, but for me, it was like sipping on a sweet, sweet nectar from the heavens above. And now it's gone. Poof, just like that. Sure, the movie might have had its flaws, but honestly, who cares? I was too busy being swept away by the epic battles and mythological shenanigans. And now, I have to accept that there might never be a sequel, that we might never get to see more of the Egyptian gods and their divine drama. It's like when you finish a really good book series and you're left feeling empty inside. Here are some great ideas for a Gods of Egypt sequel. The Rise of Set. After the defeat of the evil god Set, a new threat emerges as his followers attempt to resurrect him. The heroes must race against time to stop his return and prevent him from unleashing his wrath on the mortal world. The Curse of Anubis. The god of death, Anubis, places a curse on the land of Egypt, causing all who die to rise as undead soldiers. The heroes must find a way to break the curse and defeat Anubis before the undead army destroys Egypt and plunges the world into eternal darkness. Journey to the Underworld. An ancient artifact is stolen from the underworld, causing chaos in the afterlife. The heroes must embark on a dangerous quest through the underworld to retrieve the artifact and restore order to the realm of the dead. In conclusion, if you're looking for a great guilty pleasure movie that you can watch without thinking too hard, then Gods of Egypt is the way to go. It's much better than a terrible anime like Sword Art Online, that's for sure. Thanks for watching and subscribe for more.
As you can see, Gods of Egypt is a far better watch than Sword Art Online. Now let's check out some other Gerard Butler movies that are also worth watching. watching. Den of Thieves is a gritty, action-packed heist movie that keeps you hooked from start to finish. It's about a group of skilled bank robbers planning a big job, while a tough cop, played by Gerard Butler, is hot on their trail. The movie stands out because it's not just about shooting and chasing. It shows both sides of the story, the cops and the criminals. The action feels real, the twists are surprising, and the ending hits hard. If you like intense crime thrillers with smart plans and strong characters, this one's definitely worth a watch. Plane is a tense and fast-paced action movie that delivers exactly what you would hope for. It has solid thrills, non-stop suspense, and Gerard Butler doing what he does best. He plays a pilot who crash lands a plane in enemy territory and has to protect the passengers from dangerous rebels. What makes it great is how grounded it feels. There's no over-the-top superhero stuff, just a regular guy forced into a high-stakes fight for survival. It's a fun and intense ride. Law-Abiding Citizen is a gripping revenge thriller that pulls you in right from the start. Gerard Butler plays a man whose family is brutally murdered, and when the justice system fails him, he takes matters into his own hands. What makes the movie so great is how smart and unpredictable it is. Butler's character isn't just out for revenge. He's always one step ahead, turning the whole city upside down. The movie keeps you guessing, with intense scenes and clever twists. If you like movies where justice gets pushed to the edge, this one will keep you hooked until the end. Olympus Has Fallen is a fast-paced and explosive action movie that kicks off with a daring attack on the White House. Gerard Butler plays a tough Secret Service agent who's the only one left to rescue the president and take back control. It's packed with intense shootouts, close calls, and edge-of-your-seat moments. Butler brings grit and determination to the role, making you root for him the whole way through. If you enjoy classic action heroes taking on impossible odds, this movie delivers all the thrills. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.